this video I'm going to show you how to perform a self-test on the Yamaha KX88 Master MIDI keyboard. Before we begin, you're going to need some items. Let me just pan this down here. And you're going to need a breath controller, a pedal, and a foot controller. And you're also going to need just a regular old MIDI cable. Okay? All MIDIs are the same, they're just straight cables, but they actually play their game with how they do the wiring. So those are about all you'll need. You could use 2 pedals and 2 foot controllers because there's more inputs for that, but you can use just one. We'll just move them around as needed. So let's pan back up to the keyboard. So I'm going to keep those other items off screen, and I'm going to plug the breath controller in right now to the breath controller plug, the jack, and I've got the pedal and the foot controller back in to their particular jacks, and we're going to move those as we go on with the test. Alright, so first thing you do is you power up your KX88, give it a couple seconds to power up. And what you need to do is you need to press the A and the B button at the same time, and then press the mode switch. And this will go to 22, and then you release, and it'll go to the very first test, which is an LED test. And the LED test is going to turn on each LED in sequence, and then the LEDs here until they show all 8 8s with decimal points. And that's the test. And then you're going to press the TS2 switch to go to the next test, or the TS1 to go to the previous test. All right, so let's start that. Let's press the A and the B, and then see, now what happened is it didn't work right because I must have missed something. I might have let go of a button here. So let's try that again. There we go, 22. Let go. And now the LEDs are all going on, doing their thing. And then these LEDs, the digit LEDs go on, and it's done. So there's no pass or fail. The technician performing the test to make sure the LEDs did its right thing. All right, so now when we go to step 2, we just go TS2, and this is step 2. That's an S. As you know, in the Yamaha KX88, they didn't use those fancy 9, or 12 segment LEDs. They have 7 segment LEDs with a decimal point. So this is a 5 with the top off. It's not a burnt out segment. It's trying to show you that's a S. You got to use a little imagination. So step 2, or sequence 2, whatever you want to say. In this sequence, if you read the manual, there's a sheet in the maintenance manual that tells you how to perform this test. So we're in step 2, and this is called the switch test. And this LED, so remember that's S2, and this is press switch 1. That is not switch 1. This is switch 1. It's an offset number. So this is switch 1. That's switch 17. This is switch 18, 19. And then we come over here, and we don't press those 2 buttons. We press this button, and I got to remember how. We'll see. And if you press the wrong button, it tells you. So you see a 1, and you press 1. Oh, error. It's telling you to press 1. Oh, this is button 1. Okay, now it tells you to go to 2, 3. See, they're offset by 1. And we're going to press all those. And you're pressing them. And you hit 1. Oh, error. I want you to press 18. Oh, okay, that was 18. So it gives you a chance. That way it doesn't fail the test if you happen to press something wrong. And now, yeah, error 2. It doesn't want that button. It wants you to press. Nope, it wants these buttons pressed. Okay, great. Nope, doesn't want that one. It wants these 4, 5. Ah, so step 2 is good. That's a G and a D. That's how they do a G good. So it says, yeah, step 2 is good. So you see, even though the one button that doesn't get tested is the mode, because it's already tested, obviously, because it took you to get into that mode, I guess. I don't know. I would have put it in there and checked it anyway. But that's step 2. So now we're going to go TS2 button again. Now we're in step 3. And this is telling me to press the A-1 octave key. As you know, in Yamaha, this is A3, A2, A1, and all the way at the far end is I'm sorry, A3, A2. I'm sorry, this is A3 back over here. A3, A2, A1, A0, A3, A2, A1, A0. I'm going by C's, and negative A. And A3 here is actually concert pitch A4 440. Yamaha uses a different numbering scheme. It's off by one. A lot of manufacturers and a lot of pianos do that. But the MIDI is actually A4 for middle A, or C4 for middle C, which would be right here. So anyway, they're off. They call this C3, C2, C1, C0, and this would be A -1 down here. So it's telling you to press each key. So I'm going to press the A -1 octave, which is on the far left, and I got an error. That's because you need to press these keys a little harder so it knows that the velocity is working right. So just press them with a firm press. Okay, great. Now it wants A sharp. The dot means A sharp in the -1 octave. Great. Now I want the B. And you're going to work your way all the way up the keyboard. A sharp, B. So let me show you. It wants me to hit F in the second octave. If I press it slowly, I get an error. Press the wrong key, you get an error. Press the wrong key, you get an error. But if you hit the right key, now it goes back to step 3, and it wants F sharp 2. And we're going to do this all the way up the octaves. It's not checking Aftertouch, really. You can take your time. You don't need to play this very fast. Let me just reach over here. A5, A sharp 5. G sharp 6. And we get the good GD. So that's a great test because now it knows all the keys are working and the velocity seems to be okay. Of course, it doesn't check to make sure the velocity is smooth. If you had bent a switch like you saw in my how to remove the keys, if you mangled one of the switches, your velocity is going to be way off on one of the keys. But they have about the same velocity, and we're going to check the velocity sensor in a little bit. So again, good. So now we press TS2 again. Now we're in the next step. It would normally stay step 4, but it's telling me it wants me to check the breath controller, and it's going to show whatever control was last used. So I guess the breath controller was the last thing it saw. So I'm going to use my breath controller, and as you know, it says 14. I think it's supposed to show 0. I'm not sure. I might have to adjust. There is an adjustment in here down at the bottom of your breath controllers. There's a little potentiometer you can adjust, so I'll adjust that later. But I can make it go from 0 to 99. In all these tests here, these are checking the controllers. You must go from 0 to 99 on everyone. If you go from 0 to 98 or 1 to 98 or something like that, the test is going to fail. It wants to make sure it goes through its full range. And no matter what control, if I'm going to watch, I'm going to control the foot controller here. See, F control 2. 99 to 0. Okay, great. I'm going to press the foot pedal. Switch 2. Off, on, off, on. I'm pressing, it's left, up, down, up, down. I'm going to remove the breath controller because it seems to keep changing on me. So, okay, up, down, and again, pedal. Also, you want to check these sliders. Control 1, it goes from 0 to 99. Control 2, 0 to 99. This one is a little coarser. That's the way it works. 0 to 99 and 0 to 99. Okay? So now what you got to do is you got to plug your foot controller into the other foot controller jack. Now it's saying F control 1, right? Because when it was in the other jack, it was, oops, F control 2, okay? So this is in F control 1. Let's make sure that goes from 0 to 99. And then you plug in your foot switch into the other jack. And that should be foot switch 1. switch 1, or yep, S1, switch 1, off, on, off, on. Great. So far we've checked all the switches, all the keys. Oh, don't forget your wheel. See, that's their way of doing a W, a little U with a line on that. That's W1, wheel 1. And the center let go should be 50. All the way up should be 99. Let go 50. All the way back 0. That's your pitch wheel. And your modulation wheel is wheel 2. That's a W2. And that should go from 0 to 99. Now we've checked everything except for the MIDI. And that requires plugging in. No, that's another test. I'm sorry. So we've checked the foot switch 1, foot switch 2, wheel 1, wheel 2, breath control. Oh, Aftertouch. Don't forget the Aftertouch. So now you just take any key, and it goes to AC. And you got to press it pretty hard, but you got to get it to 99. Right? And the Aftertouches on the KX88s start to go. I had to get that, I had to get the adjustments for the Aftertouch. And I have another video on that, all the way up to max. I'm going to modify the circuit so this has a little more gain in it from default. And that way the Aftertouch won't require a gorilla to hit it, okay? Because not all the keys are working the same Aftertouch. This is a known issue with the KX88. When the Aftertouch strip is just a pressure-sensitive resistor, a PSR, and as they age, they don't get as sensitive, but there's a way of compensating. And I believe Yamaha will send you, can sell you a strip for like 40 bucks if you want to replace it. That requires pulling out all the keys and all that mess. And if you watch my video on how to open up the cover and remove keys, you're going to see maybe you want to leave that to a professional, because you can just destroy your keyboard if you don't remove these keys properly. Unfortunately, you got to remove all the keys to get the strip in. And that is a job that you don't want to do unless you're in the right frame of mind. So anyway, so now we have checked foot switch 1, 2, wheel 1, 2, breath controller, and Aftertouch. Great. So if we go to F2, it should say good. All right. So step 4 was good. So now we're going to step 5, which is the RAM test. And that should come back good within a second or two. Good. RAM is good. It's really quick, And now we're going to do the ROM test. It's going to read the contents of the ROM, do a checksum, and compare it to the checksum that's stored inside the ROM to make sure that the ROM isn't corrupted. All right, so we're going to press that, and that's going to be S6, and it should say good in a couple seconds. And it's good. So our RAM and ROM are good. The last step is the MIDI. So you just take your MIDI cable, and as you know, there's a MIDI in and out. I'm going to unplug the other connectors. We don't need those. So we're going to plug our one end of our MIDI cable into the in jack and one into the out. Bear with me as I'm doing this blind. I'm learning to do it by feel. Remember, the KX88 has all of its control signals on the side panel, or the DX puts them out here. I like them on the back myself, but I guess there was a reason why they put that there. I think because of the way you open it up or something. So anyway, just bear with me for a second as I blindly put these in. There we go. So now I got the MIDI cable connect between the in and out. So you have to do that first before you go to step 7. So now that the MIDI's in, you go there, and step 7 is good. Okay, great. And now you go to step 8, and that's a battery test. And it tells you if the battery is normal or not, if it's good. If step 8 shows bad, BD, a B and a D, I think it's BD if it's bad, or error. It'll show you error if it's bad. Then you need to replace the battery, and that's a whole nother video on that. So let's check the battery now by going to step 8, and it's good. So now if you go to step 9, there is no step 9, so you go to the step. Oh, to go back a step, you can always hit TS1. Then I can go back. Remember, this is the controller, wheel 1. But if you go to let's say I was back here, and I finished my key test. See, I'm not want to do the key. I could just, before you start any test, you can always press TS2 and skip over a test. But once you start a test, you're committed to finishing it. So I can skip all these in step 7, and then step 8, battery. And I don't recommend checking the battery all too much. It's better not to check the battery like every day, because you're just going to wear down the battery even more. you're trying to keep the load on that as minimal as possible. Every time you check it, it takes a little bit of energy to check it. So when you're done now, I showed you can go back and forward with TS1 and 2. When you're done, boom, it's done, and it takes you right back out, and now you're in regular operational mode. But I want to show you something here, which is very strange. You turn off, and you think you're good to go, and you're going to turn it on. All of a sudden, you say, okay, great. Sometimes this display will go crazy. Look at that. It's blinking like crazy here. It might not be working right. Look at it. What's going on? Sometimes the display will go crazy. It'll be like, oh, there it goes. LEDs bouncing all over. What is going on here? Well, that's because you left your MIDI cable back in a loop. And remember, the KX88 is always sending data out, and then it's coming right back into the in, so it's doing an endless loop, and it's getting way more MIDI data than it can handle. So it's going crazy. If you ever see this, don't panic. Just unplug your MIDI cable and power cycle it. Give it a couple seconds. And now everything should work as normal. Okay, so that pretty much covers running the self-test. It pretty much checks everything on there. And if you have if you have any questions, don't hesitate to comment and look for my other videos. And I'm making another video that's going to show you how to, when you open up, well, actually, do I have this? I think I didn't even seal this closed since the last video. I left it open so I can open it up here. These are the adjustments for your Aftertouch. So when you go to step 4, the ADD test, and you touch your Aftertouch, remember the test is going to go and it's going to say AC for Aftertouch control. You can press and control these two potentiometers over here. Let me see if I can show you. No, okay, let me show you. Okay. See these two holes here? That's for a potentiometer. And you'll need a very small, like a jeweler's screwdriver. I have one here that I just kind of filed down. And you very carefully stick it in the hole. And don't force it. Find the slot by turning it. And you can adjust these. And I have them adjusted for full clockwise for the maximum gain to get me a better breath control. So I'll show you how to do that. Why not while we're here? So temporarily close your cover. Remember, A and B together. Press that. 22 goes out. And we can skip that. Let's go to test 4, step 2, step 4. See, nothing's happened. I don't have the breath controller and it's not doing its thing. So you Aftertouch control. See that? And what you can do is you can have a mirror, if you want, behind there. And you can lift this panel up. And as you're adjusting this, you can watch what the LED is doing and you can get your master. The top one is gain and the bottom one is zeroing adjust. But you can find out that the zero will move depending on how you set these. You should tweak them very slowly, but you might find on yours, you probably just end up turning them both clockwise or counterclockwise, whichever way it was for the maximum. Let me see if I can figure what that is, which way you turn them for the maximum gain. Try not to hit any other traces when you plug this in. And you put your screwdriver and you feel for the lock into the LED. Yeah. So I have them almost all the way up. Let me turn that up a little more. That's supposed to be the gain. And let's see what we get here. Yeah, see, I got pretty good Aftertouch now. Okay, so I turned the gain up all the way. So you might have to adjust those. And if you still can't get the gain, the Aftertouch control that you want, I'm going to modify that. There's a circuit. You don't have to take the circuit board. That's clever. That's why they made these potentiometers on the other side of the circuit board, but they purposely put holes through the circuit board so you can adjust those potentiometers. And there's a way I can change that circuit to get even more gain out of it. And I'm going to make a video on that. And also down here, you can't really see it, but this little gray cable down here connects to this harness, and that's the Aftertouch cable that connects to the Aftertouch sensor that runs right under all these keys. They didn't put a connector there, so if you're working on the keyboard, you have to, if you're going to work on the keys, this has to come out because there's not enough room to slide the keys with this little front panel here. So you have to remove these two cables and loosen up these cables to give you some slack. But if they had a connector here, which I'm going to put on, this whole keyboard can come out, and then you can work on the keys and the touch sensor and all that on a separate bench and not have to worry about slipping and putting towels down to prevent scratches and everything. So be on the lookout for that. So I'm going to show you how to modify this circuit, put a connector on there for the Aftertouch, and maybe some other things in case you want to modify them. Okay, so let's cover this back up. I'm going to show you what happens. Like, remember, we were in step 4, right? We were in step 4. Okay, there we go. And now we're going to go to the next step, 5, error 4. Why did I fail? Because all we did was Aftertouch. You need to go, remember, once you start a test, you can't skip it. You're supposed to finish everything. And this tells you that one of your things failed because I didn't perform them all. But I know it passed before. But I'm just saying, go to step 4. Let's go back. I mean, go to step, you have to go back 1 and then back to step 4. And then you can check your Aftertouch, okay? And look at, I can get to 99 with, I still don't like that much pressure, but it's there. It works. And that's about it. So, and again, constructive feedback only, please. I know it's not the most perfect video, but I tried to give you an idea of how to run the self-test on your KX88. Thank you.